Welcome back to National Report. SpaceX is set to make history today. A flight called Demo 2 will send two NASA astronauts, Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, to the International Space Station today. Liftoff set for 4:33 p.m. from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Owned by Elon Musk, SpaceX would be the first private company to carry people into orbit. The mission will also be the first to launch astronauts from U.S. soil since 2011. NASA is viewing this launch as the first step to working with commercial providers for space venture, making space travel more accessible if it works. President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence both plan to attend the historic event today. Here to give us some more details on the importance of this mission is space journalist and scientist and managing editor for Space Up Close, Kenneth Kremer. We're also joined with our panel, Mary Walter and Jack Kingston. Kenneth, there's a lot of firsts going into this mission today. If it succeeds, what does this mean for U.S. space travel in the future?
Well, it's very exciting. What it means is we're back in space. We've been dependent on the Russians for the last 9 years because the American politicians shut down the space shuttle program. And so we have been totally dependent on the Russians. They've been good partners, but now we have new partners. We have SpaceX and Boeing building commercial spaceships, and so we'll finally be launching American astronauts on American rockets from American soil, and hopefully that's going to happen again starting in a few hours if the weather holds up. It's a little bit iffy right now.
Yes, we're hoping it all goes smoothly. Kenneth, sticking with you here, what does it mean that we are seeing these commercial partners? As you mentioned, Boeing, SpaceX. I mean, Elon Musk is really having an impact here on American space travel and what we'll learn.
He's having a huge impact. You know, they're reusing these rockets. They're bringing the costs down. And they're delivering on their promises. And that's what we need to do. We need to cut the cost of access to space so we can send more astronauts, more equipment, more science. I'm a scientist. It's critical we do more science in space. Eventually, this is going to lead, hopefully in a few years, going back to the moon with Project Artemis, landing the first woman and the next man by the end of 2024. That's what we want to do. But we can only do it if we have good partners who are reliable. And that's what SpaceX is so far. They're a pretty reliable partner. It's taken a little longer, again, because funding from Congress hasn't been sufficient for this program. We would have launched a few years ago otherwise. But hopefully we're on track now.
Yeah, and we know that President Trump is very excited by this. He's, of course, planning to be there for the launch. Jack, we know he's a strong supporter of Space Force as well. What does it mean to have the president be so supportive of these efforts?
It sends a very strong signal to all the politicians, and Kenneth's right to be critical of what's been going on. Politicians and NASA have become risk adverse, unfortunately. Part of exploration in space means that you're going to have a lot of costs, you're going to have some deaths, and you're going to have some setbacks. And those are the kinds of things that politicians run from. So you have to have the private sector step in a void like this and say, look, we can be more daring. We'll take a higher risk, both financially and in terms of the human costs. But would we have ever discovered America and had exploration of the whole world if it hadn't been for people who are willing to take a risk? And so if we look at the whole universe as ours, if we get out there and we get out there first as Americans, this is something we have to do. I am very proud that the president and the vice president.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned the risk, and I'm learning that it's actually a 19-hour journey that these astronauts will be on. But you think about all the science and knowledge that can be gained by this trip as we continue to explore space. Mary, your response to seeing this again take off, hopefully?
You know, this is a beautiful illustration of what happens when you have a man running this country who is a businessman. He is not a politician. To piggyback off of what Jack said about risks, businessmen take risks. So you have a businessman running the country, teaming up with other businessmen and entrepreneurs in this country to make this happen. And that's exactly what we needed. And there are going to be tests that are going to be run. We'll probably get a whole bunch of new products that come out of this that will further, for instance, medicine and healthcare and so many parts of American lives that will make our lives better. That I think this is fantastic. And I love that it's going to cost taxpayers less because private industry is putting in more. I think it's a win-win all the way around. It's fantastic.
All right. I know so many people will be tuning in to watch virtually. Kenneth, I got to ask, what were you doing in 2011, and what are your plans for today?
Well, I was there. I was there when the crew walked out. I was there when they launched. It was extremely exciting. This time, because of COVID, unfortunately, the media is very restricted, but I'll still have a live view. I'm doing live launch coverage with CBS, one of your competitors. So right in Titusville, I'll be watching it as it takes off. It's really exciting. And yeah, that's just a few hours from now.
Yeah. All right. We're all set to watch. Again, I believe the takeoff is set for 4:33 p.m. Eastern Time. So we are all looking forward to it. That's Kenneth Kremer, along with Mary Walter and Jack Kingston. We appreciate you all coming on the show today.